سلام.
پلیس به نگه برو کنار رو برو تو خیابون
We demand justice. We demand justice. We demand truth. 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 We demand justice.
We demand truth. We demand justice. We demand truth. We demand action. We demand action. Investigate now. 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 Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now.
We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now.
We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action. Investigate now. We demand action.
Investigate now.
We demand action.
Investigate now. IRGC murderers. Call them terrorists.
IRGC murders. Call them terrorists.
IRGC murderers.
Call them terrorists.
IRGC murderers. Call them terrorists.
Call them terrorists. Call them terrorists.
Call them terrorists.
Terrorists. مرگ بر خامنه‌ای.
IRGC murder. Call them terrorists. IRGC murder. Call them terrorists. IRGC murder. Call them terrorists.
ولی آنچه که شاهدش هستیم اینه که خانواده‌ها معتقدن دولت قول‌هایی بهشون داده برای جاسوسی
آره.
IRGC now! Blacklist 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 IRGC now! Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! What do we want? Justice! Now! Now! Justice! Justice! Now! Now! Justice! Justice! Now! Justice for Iran! Justice for Iran!
Justice for
Justice for Iran!
Justice for Iran! Justice for Iran! Justice for Massa! Women like freedom! 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 Justice for Iran! Justice for Iran! Justice for Massa! Justice for Massa! Justice for Iran! Justice for Iran! Justice for Massa! Justice for Massa! Women like freedom! 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 امینی مهسا 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 امینی Justice for Iran! Justice for Iran! Justice for Mahsa! Justice for Mahsa! Justice for Iran! Justice for Mahsa! IRGC murderers, call them terrorists! IRGC terrorists, call them terrorists! IRGC murderers, 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 call them terrorists!
خب اینجا تظاهر کننده ها از جلوی دادگاه عالی کانادا حرکت کردند و الان وارد پارلمان کانادا میشن. شعارهایی که داده میشه برای حمایت از مردم ایران، انقلاب ایران، حمایت از زنان، زندگی و آزادی و همچنین برای فشار به دولت کانادا برای پیگیری پرونده PS 752 اتفاقی که زمستون دی ماه 98 افتاد و سپاه با حداقل 2 موشک به هواپیمای مسافربری شلیک کرد و 176 انسان بیگناه به اضافه یک جنینی که به دنیا نیامده بود رو کشت. مردم اینجا جمع شدن تا اعتراض خودشون رو به گوش دنیا برسونن و همونطور که می‌بینید عده خیلی زیادی جمع شدن علیرغم اینکه روز هفته است، روز کاری، ولی تعداد خیلی زیادی از شهرهای مختلف اومدن به این تظاهرات شرکت کردن و الان وارد محوطه پارلمان کانادا شدن. وزیر ترانسپورت آقای القبرا و تعدادی از نماینده های پارلمان که جا حضور دارن و این هم آهنگ برای شروین رو دارن پخش میکنن. شروین عزیز با آهنگ قشنگی که خوند اولا به دل ایرانی‌های سرتاسر دنیا نفوذ کرد و صدایی که از قلب مردم برخاسته تبدیل به آهنگ این خیزش و این قیام شده. میرم داخل که
دارن دیگه نداشته باشن یا دارن
مدرسات هست. هزارمین روز به مناسبت هزارمین روزی که از جنایت سپاه گذشته تعداد خیلی زیادی از ایرانی‌ها و غیر ایرانی‌های مقیم کانادا جلوی پارلمان اومدن. تعدادی از مقامات کانادا کنار استیج وایسادن، احتمالاً نماینده ها و وزرا و مردم معترض و تظاهر کنندگان هم یواش یواش دارن جمع میشن. مرزاد زارعی بود، پدر آراد، که درخواست خودش رو از دولت کانادا برای پیگیری پرونده و انجام یه حرکت سوال میداد.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Good afternoon. Please stand with us for a moment of silence, hearing the national anthem of Canada, followed by Iran.
خورشید دارد اینجا نما، آینده باغبان ایران ما.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming on the 1000th day of the downing of Flight PSM 52. We are here to commemorate the memory and lives of our loved ones on this 1000th day since the horrific act by the Iranian regime. My name is Amir Ali Alabi, and I'll be your MC today. Before we begin this afternoon, I'd like to open and acknowledge that we are on the unceded territory of Anishinaabe and Algonquin people who have lived on this territory for millennia. Their culture and presence have nurtured and continue to nurture this land. I would also like to acknowledge that today we have another gathering next to us to celebrate and as a vigil for all the women victims of Indigenous peoples. So it would be great if we could keep the noise level of our gathering reasonably in a reasonable level in respect of our gathering next to us. Today we are fortunate to have a large number of members of parliament standing with us today. I will do my best to not miss any names, but I apologize in advance if I do, given the large number of people that we have. From the Liberal Party, we have Francesco Sobrana, Jenna Sutz, Christy Duncan, Richie Valdez, Annie Koutrakis, Minister Jackson, and Leah Taylor-Roy. From the NDP Party, we have Heather McPherson. And from the Conservative Party, we have Melissa Lanceman, Anna Roberts, Dan Moyes, Jasra Singh Hallen, Garnet Jennis, Ziad Abul Tay, and some others who will. And as well as MPP Golsa Gamari. First of all, to open the program, I would like to invite the Association of Families of PSM 52 Victims spokesperson, Dr. Hamid Ismailion, to deliver the association's message.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you all for coming and for this tremendous outpouring of support for our cause and for those fighting to oppose the regime all over the country and the world. 1,000 days have passed from the missile attacks against a civilian airliner over the skies of Tehran. 176 human beings and an unborn child were murdered. Brides and grooms were murdered. Children were murdered. Many of the passengers were students with promising futures for Canada, for Iran. They all lost their lives senselessly 1,000 days ago today. And where do we stand? Where does the world stand? Where is justice in all of the politics, legal wranglings, negotiations, and bureaucracy? The families of the victims were caught up in the aftermath of an atrocity that is unprecedented in the history of aviation. Despite their grief and anguish, the majority of the families have stood together along this unbearably difficult path. They tried everything within their means to unveil the truth, but unfortunately, they were not the ones to decide their own destiny. The real stakeholders in this heinous crime have no power to decide, have no rights to information, and have no place at the negotiation table. not even their legal representatives. To fairly understand the fate of the victims' families, we must consider the circumstances and events that have developed over the past 1,000 days. The Canadian government has marked January 8th as a National Day of Remembrance for aviation victims every year going forward. Many dependents were helped to resettle in Canada thanks to the work of this association and IRCC through Minister Mendicino and Fraser, and scholarships were dedicated to university students in the name of the victims. These are welcome actions that will help to keep the memory of the victims alive, which is one of our association's 3 core objectives. But what about the truth? What about transparency? What about accountability? What about the free words commitment to justice and human rights? Just yesterday, officials of the Islamic Republic are now officially sanctioned by the Canadian government, which is a welcome action, even if long overdue. But sanctions are just one step of many steps that must be taken in order to achieve results. Within 5 hours after the shooting down of flight PS752, when bulldozers grazed the site and destroyed evidence, the gears of justice must have engaged. From the moment that it was clear that the IRGC fired the missiles that brought down flight PS752, the absurdity of leaving the investigation to the perpetrators must have been addressed. From the moment witnesses and victims' families were harassed, intimidated, and persecuted, an impartial international investigative body must have engaged with the whole affair. 55 Canadian citizens were murdered. Another 83 victims had close ties to Canada. But despite our efforts, the RCMP to date refuses to open a domestic criminal case. The IKO has yet to condemn the Islamic Republic's breaches of its conventions with an absurd claim of neutrality. 1,000 days of lip service, 1,000 days of empty, devoid of action, 1,000 days of grief with no closure. Let us take a step back and look at the big picture. Let us consider the roadmap to justice. We don't want to hear about the complexity and delicacy of the matter. We are the biggest stakeholders, and by now, 1,000 days later, we know all too well that the road to justice for us is not an easy, short, or simple one. We demand a clear roadmap with concrete action. We demand empathy backed up by real turns in the gears of justice. We are not lawyers or diplomats or politicians. We are a collective of grieving families who deserve reparations that include the truth, justice, and closure, not empty apologies or financial compensation. Here is what must be done. 1. Our case must be tabled at the ICAO Council without delay and with urgency. 2. We must prepare our case to the International Court of Justice. 3. Canada must support the association's submission to the International Criminal Court through a state referral or a letter of support. 4. The IRGC must be on the terrorist list without delay. 5. Canada must launch an official investigation into the Islamic Republic's shameless and open money laundering activities. 6. official investigation into how Islamic Republic agents, security and military personnel, politicians and their families have made Canada a safe haven, and they must be expelled without delay. Grounds of Parliament Hill, in the heart of Canadian democracy, I call on parliamentarians of all parties and sprites to help us push forward in making these demands a reality. 1,000 days, and despite our frustration, we will stand with you and continue our lawful efforts to make sure that Canada will not be a safe haven for our tormentors. We shall continue our efforts with increasing resolve, and even after 1,000 days, our pain, our shattered lives, our success, or even failure to get results, to unveil the truth and get justice, can only pave the way for freedom and justice in Iran. No matter how long it takes.
Justice for Iran! 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 Justice for Iran!
No matter how long it takes, we stand firm for justice and human rights. We shall never forget, nor shall we ever forgive. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ismaili, for delivering this strong message. I would like to add that we have so many of the members of Parliament and the Canadian officials in attendance today. We know that there are some other groups that are also in attendance of the event today. We are fortunate to have the Ukrainian ambassador, Her Excellency Yulia Kovalev. And also from the Liberal Party, we have Joanne Thompson, Ali Assasi, Rob Oliphant, Rachel Benda, and Eric Kuzmarchuk. And from the Conservative Party, we also have Matt Gero, and an independent MP, Mr. Kevin Wong. And we appreciate the support from independent organizations such as the Kurdish House Toronto and Ottawa, who are here in support of our cause. And we sympathize with all the victims of the Kurdish people after the recent IRGC bombing in Kurdish territories. For our next speaker, we are fortunate to have the Honorable Chrystia Freeland, Deputy Prime Minister of Canada, who has accepted to be here to deliver a message on behalf of the government. Please welcome me. Please join me in welcoming you.
Alors, merci beaucoup de me donner l'occasion de me joindre à vous aujourd'hui. Au nom du gouvernement canadien, permettez-moi de souligner à quel point nous sommes horrifiés et furieux de ce qui se passe en Iran. Partout en Iran, les femmes marchent dans les rues pour exiger le respect de leurs droits fondamentaux. Et le font parce que la soi-disant police de l'amour a arrêté puis assassiné Mahsa Amini. Ils l'ont tué parce que son hijab ne respectait pas leur code vestimentaire repressif. And everyone here knows the brutal and misogynist Iranian regime continues to arrest, beat, and kill its people as they protest for their freedoms. It continues to systematically persecute women. These brave protesters, and let's all pause for a moment to underscore the immense courage of the women, the students, and every single Iranian who has put their life and the lives of loved ones at risk. They are an inspiration. We need to really remember, as we gather here, that their protest comes at such a high price, one that many of us, those of us lucky enough to be born in Canada, can barely imagine. We know this is an evil theocracy that does not respect the sanctity of human life, that does not respect women's lives. Canadians had to confront this very personally, very tragically, 1,000 days ago. On January 7th, 2020, the Iranian government shot down flight PS-752, and 176 precious lives were lost, including 55 Canadian citizens and 30 permanent residents. Many of them were from my hometown of Edmonton, where I was when this happened, and I spoke to their families then. We remember them all today, and perhaps we could be silent just for one moment in their memory. Yesterday, we announced new sanctions against 25 members of the Iranian leadership and 9 entities responsible for the brutal repression of Iranians. This list includes top military leaders, including of the IRGC, Quds Force, and Iran's intelligence agency. And many of the names on this list were provided by the families of PS-752 victims. Thank you for that hard work. Now, I know, and I'm hearing people today saying Canada has to do more. You are right. We do have to do more.
Keep them out! 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 IRGC murder! Call them terrorists! 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 IRGC murder! Call them terrorists!
We do need to do more, and we will do more. We've heard the calls of the Iranian community. I've been talking to people directly. People have been calling me up, and I hear your calls today. You want us to do more? You're right. We must do more, and we will do more. So, be very clear. Canada cannot and will not be a haven for IRGC money. We cannot and will not be a haven for the IRGC command. We cannot and will not be a haven for the henchmen of the IRGC command. Let me be clear about something else. Iran is a state sponsor of terrorism. We need to say that. We need to recognize that. We will use all the tools at our disposal to isolate and punish the brutal dictatorship. And let me be very clear. We understand the significance of listing the IRGC. Now, as a Canadian, as a woman, and as a feminist, I am horrified by what is happening in Iran.
Do it now! 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 Do it now!
I am horrified by what is happening in Iran, and I am, as I think we all are, and as we all should be, in absolute awe of the brave women and the brave people who are standing up against a brutal regime. I think we all need to honor them and their courage. Now, we heard the organizers at the beginning of this rally mention that Yulia Kovalyuk, the Ukrainian ambassador to Canada, is here. And I'm going to conclude by saying something very personal. So I'm going to conclude by saying that as a Canadian, and as someone who is also a member of the diaspora community, as a proud Ukrainian Canadian, I really do understand the heroism of people who are willing to risk their lives to stand up to a brutal dictator and to a murderous regime. I understand that so much. I respect that so profoundly. I am awed by that. The word Maidan, it may be a Ukrainian word today, but people here know it was a Persian word first. And that is very fitting, because the courage we saw in the Maidan in Kyiv, the courage we see on the front